Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. As we watch the developments for the end of the week and the weekend, as a storm across the deep south and then up the East Coast in some form or another seems to be growing more likely. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by True Value, Omni True Value Hardware, the superstore for salt, sand, more salt, pellet, mag, ice pellets and flakes, snow blowers. I love the color of these snow blowers. I can't say that enough. 24-inch blade or the more preferable 30-inch blade, so you can definitely get more coverage. Mr. Rayo will attest to that, and so will I. And there are your spreaders, yes, shovels, your pellet, your mag, ice pellets and flakes, and of course, tons and tons of rock salt, and the lowest prices anywhere you could find close by to the New York City tri-state area. So get in touch with Omni, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, on Long Island in southwest Suffolk County. 631-756-1125 is the phone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. Also, you can support this channel and get additional weather coverage, weather videos, and all sorts of analysis by joining my subscription site on Patreon, patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Membership levels start at $2 a month, which is, maybe like buying me a beer and a cigar once a year. So anyway, patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Be surprised how many people don't want to buy me a beer or a cigar. And there's also a link at the top, pinned to the top of the page. Also pinned to the top of the chat, and also we have tonight's poll, Mr. Rayo. I reworded it from yesterday, and the poll says, will Joe Chaffee in North Georgia get more snow than Joe Rayo in the Hudson Valley?
You mean for the whole season?
No, I mean for this weekend.
The next 10 days? Well, for this weekend.
Yeah,
well, that's a good point. I will say that when I looked at today's model, guidance model runs at the 12Z and noted the fact that it was so different than what we had 24 hours ago, where the system was for the most part out over the ocean. Now they're bringing it right up
way out over the ocean. Way out over the ocean. Go on.
And now they're bringing it right up, and now they're bringing it all. I mean, the Canadian model, the European, the GFS, all bringing it straight into our area. And you'd even have to start arguing about maybe there would be a changeover from snow to ice to even some rain for parts of the tri-state area with this system. And you say to yourself, well, how much reliability can we put in this, considering how different it was from yesterday? I know all the snow lovers out there are jumping up and down saying, all right, now we have it. But, folks, tomorrow it may be back out to sea. It may even be back off to the west. And we're still about 4 or 5 days away. So the confidence level is very low right now for what we may or may not see out of this, Joe.
Yeah. A couple of things that I noticed today. Well, first off, the overnight runs of the GFS were the first two to go left. And actually, if they'd have stopped going left for snow lovers along the for the snow lovers in the Northeast for the coastal plain, they would have been quite happy. I guess what surprised me was the fact that they wound up going even further left the way they did. I have to tell you, we've gone from a situation in the terms of the computer models that the biggest change in the upper air is over eastern Canada and points eastward. The blocking high that is south of Greenland and trying to push northward is a little bit further to the east. I was talking with Bill Goodman today, and he made this point about the fact that blocking high out there is just a little bit further to the east than you would like. If you think back to a couple of days ago, we were showing the maps with the blocking high pushing into the Davis Strait. And we were worried about the fact, the concern was that there wasn't going to be enough room because you had the block, you had the storm, the Atlantic storm heading for Nova Scotia, And we saw the trough coming into the west. Instead of picking up the southern stream system, it was ejecting it and kicking it out to the east. Now the problem has gone in the other direction. The block is further east. There's more room, which means you get more ridging along the east coast between systems to amplify, and as a result, you wind up, bringing something up the coast. The other thing that struck me was the fact that I'm trying to think back. The two things that struck me on these runs today. One was it's hard for me to remember seeing usually storms that systems that take tracks like this where they go down across the deep south and then turn northward up the east coast are usually not coast huggers. Okay, that's one thing. That's not 100% true all the time, but a lot of the time they're not coast huggers. They go northeast, they pass off North Carolina, they go right through the box and head to southeast of Cape Cod, and the snow lovers are dancing in the streets. The other thing that I found really interesting was that if you look at the upper air and you look where the upper air low is, the surface low is usually southeast of where the upper low is. Okay. In today's cases, in the European, in the GFS, in the Canadian, the surface low is actually to the northwest of the upper low. And I've been trying to rack my brains out, trying to figure out when was the last time, or if there was any time I've ever seen the surface low to the northwest of the upper low. I can't recall. I cannot recall an instance of a situation where we saw that happen. So there's a lot of things about what I'm seeing out there on the models today that I'm having a tough time with. I'm having a tough time understanding. I don't know if you're having the same struggles as I am.
No, I just looked at, like I said, I looked at yesterday. I said, okay, it's going there, and today it's going a completely different track right up toward us, and tomorrow it may very well be a bit different again. As I said yesterday, Joe, we're in a pattern where you can't place your bets on any one particular model for anything beyond, let's say, 2 or 3 days, because things are going to change, things are going to flip, and we're still about 4 or 5 days out from this system. So I would not be surprised if we're going to see some additional flipping or additional changes between now and, let's say, Thursday or Friday. We may not really know with any certainty or surety exactly what's going to happen until maybe the end of this week or even the start of the weekend. We'll just have to play it by ear.
I think it's going to boil down to, in terms of the overall outcome, I think it's going to boil down to Friday's Atlantic Ocean storm that develops, how that interacts with the blocking high to the east, and whether the models are correct or incorrect in terms of the positioning of those two particular systems. If we go back to a stronger blocking high pushing westward, then you're going to see more of an offshore track. If you don't, you're going to have a coast hugger, or worse, for snow lovers, is the fact that on the 18Z run, it was actually even a little further left. The low tracks from over from to Harrisburg. I mean, it basically cuts Virginia in half. The western part of Virginia gets and western North Carolina down to about me, and probably points further west into Alabama. Jess Harden, make him happy, could actually do quite well. Anybody that's good, and I'm going to go over this as far as the Deep South is concerned. The upper low coming across the Deep South is very vigorous. Okay, it's a very strong upper low, and it's the kind of thing where the models are not going to pick up on how much snow may actually fall. I think you could see some interesting surprises with whoever is underneath the track of that upper low as it goes by, as far as snowfall is concerned, particularly in, I would say, northeast Alabama, northern Georgia, eastern Tennessee, the Carolina Mountains. That upper low is going to clobber somebody. I was looking at the European, I think, gave me 15 inches which is like the third or fourth run in the row for both models that had double digits. The GFS cut me back to 8 inches on the 18Z, Joe, but 15 miles east of me, and it's probably one of the elevated points that go up about 3,000 or 4,000 feet or higher. They put down 20-inch amounts there. So I'll be happy if I wind up getting 3 to 6 here. I will be so totally thrilled just to see that. I don't care about the double-digit numbers. I got 2 whole turkeys in the freezer that I can defrost, so I won't starve to death by any stretch of the imagination. Particularly now that I'm able to eat again. But you know, I agree with you on the whole concept. I still think we have a number of runs to go. If we were inside 60 hours right now, if I were a snow lover, I would be getting ready to throw in the towel. But we're not. We're still 120 plus hours away from the start time of this thing. So there's a lot that can happen between now and then.
You bring up such a good point in the fact that maybe we'll have to wait until that first system, the one that will be moving off the coast on Friday, we'll have to wait and see what that does and its impact upon the system, the next system, the Sunday system coming in from the west. That we may never really know until that first system does its thing. And that having been said, that goes back to what I just said a few moments ago, where it may not be until the end of the week that we'll have with any certainty or surety where the Sunday or Monday system goes. That's plain and simple.
No question. And in fact, I'm going to pull it up. I think it was the Friday 18Z run that had the big snows. Let me make. I'm going to. Remember, there was the first. Yes. There was the first run that the models picked up on what was going to be a developing gale out in the Atlantic, and I want to see if this was the one, because this will illustrate, your point here with regards to how much the model has changed with regards to the block. I'm just running through the 500. I'm just taking its jab that it was last Friday, and I think it was. So you see it here. In fact, right here. So it was last Friday, and if you recall, this was the first run, and it produced 1 foot plus snows to back west of the Jersey coast and all of southern New England and Long Island. And
that was the one where I said, folks, to break it down into an easy, explainable thing, folks who lived west of the Hudson got little or nothing, and places that were east of the Hudson got clobbered with massive snowfalls of 5, 10, 15, even Lord knows 20 inches.
Right, and if you look at this, that storm going out, just kind of moves along there, and you've got this blockiness that on that run, you've got the edge of the block is actually across the Davis Strait into northeastern Canada, and it was so strong that when we moved into Monday, the next trough, there is no southern shortwave. You can barely find the southern shortwave. Right. It's kind of down here. It's all in the north, and there was no room for anything. So now we've gone from this, and I'm going to set this to 12Z Sunday, and I'm going to switch now to the current run just to show you how different it has, and why over the course of, when you look at these things over the course of 5 days, how much things can change. So now I'm going to jump over. This is the 12Z run from today. Look at you're going to see the differences in terms of the upper air, and it's night and day. I mean, you don't have. Now you've got the Atlantic storm is stretched out from Newfoundland all through Labrador up in the Davis Strait. Here's your block. Your ridge is trying to build, but it's, and I overlay. This is what you're seeing now was overlaid on from the run I just showed you from back last Friday. Look at the differences up in the North Atlantic. You've got, instead of the block built building back over to the Davis Strait, you've got the Atlantic storm sitting up there in its place, and the upper high is much further to the east. And look at the difference in what's going on, the huge difference in what's going on in the eastern part of the United States with that really vigorous upper low in the southern stream. And now the northern stream, we were worried about that northern jet coming down and kicking it out. Instead, it's going to come down and basically act as a lever and lift it up close to the coast and move it northward. So, these are huge monumental changes in the upper air that have occurred in the last 5 days. It's the profile of what's happening here is different. Now, maybe this is overdone. What's going on in eastern Canada? Maybe the upper high will be a little bit stronger and kind of force things back a little bit further to the west, and that'll help to suppress the system that's coming out from the deep south. You're going to have to hope that that's the case if you're a snow lover in the coastal plain. If you're inland, I'm thinking, if you want to be conservative, Joe, I'm thinking draw a line from, say, I don't know, somewhere in southeast PA, east of Lancaster, somewhere east of Lancaster to about Allentown to northwest Jersey, and then along and north of Route 84. From there, north and west, you would think that that would be all snow. And then perhaps from just north of I-95, north and west to about 84, you'll have one of these situations where you could go from, a coating to an inch on the south end before it changes to rain, to several to many inches on the north end until you get to where it's all snow. That's kind of how I'm seeing it right now. The European is a little bit further to the east relative to the new GFS anyway. I don't know. This is still difficult because there's still room for maneuvering in either direction, by the way.
Absolutely, Joe. And I like how you when you said that it acts like a lever, and I guess you could say if that be the case, then the fulcrum would be somewhere down over the Gulf coastal region, and
Yeah.
it just kind of lifts that next system right up. And yeah, it could. Can you imagine how the snow lovers would feel if this thing ended up going up toward Lake Erie or Lake Ontario?
Well, you know what?
No.
We've gone from the low riding up just east of the Garden State Parkway. Now it's Harrisburg to Albany. I mean, what's next? Northern West Virginia to Pittsburgh to Rochester, Syracuse. I mean, how much further left can it go? There is a limit as to how far left it could go, but there also is probably, with everything going on, a limit as far as how far right it can go too. So, the other thing I would point out is I looked at the icon model, and I also want to look at the ensembles before we move on. I was looking at the icon model, Joe, when it came out this afternoon before the GFS, and the icon suddenly backed off and had, what looked like what we had yesterday, which was a low in eastern North Carolina with a high suppressing it to the north, and the isobars all pointing out east-northeast. I saw that before the GFS came out, and I said, maybe the GFS might go a little more suppressed on this run, but obviously it did not. And it should be noted, I'll bring up like I like to call them the ensembles. Sounds like something like a store brand that you would find in the A&P. Remember Ann Page?
Yes.
And Jane Parker. But the ensembles. What I'll put up here is what we are the ensemble member plot, so you can actually see where the average mean low is, and also see where the individual plots are. So if you want to look at this for yourself, just go to Tropical Tidbits and click on Ensemble and click on the GEFS, the GEFS for the GFS, and the GEPS for the Canadian ensembles. So I think we could probably go to the eastern region so we can be a little tighter here. The low eastern region, Ethel to Tilly, come in, over. Okay, here we go. Loading away. Loading, 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 loading.
Joe, where are you?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You couldn't hear me?
Did we lose something? No, I could not.
Oh, well, am I back now? You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Because the map was delayed in loading, maybe it was being problematic. So if we look at the ensembles, Mr. Rayo, you'll notice that not a single member of the ensembles, not one of these members, and let me make sure this was the 60 from, wait a minute, which run do I have? No, this is the 18Z run of the ensembles. Not a single member, Joe, is anywhere close to the coast. They are all offshore. It's just the operational that's doing what it's doing. That's usually when a situation like this, you'd have a few members that would be at the very least would be inland with the operational. There's not a single one that's inland with the operational here.
Hey Joe, what can I tell you? and you're the guy
Wait.
who said.
Hold on. Let me make sure I got the right dates up. Hold on. I do not have the. Do I have the right date? This is the 18th. Okay, so I'm sorry. I take this back. Excuse me. This is the first system. Okay, this is the first system for Friday. I'm trying to, in the confusion, I'm matching up, with so many storms running around. So this one actually forms close to the North Carolina coast, goes east-northeast, and now moves out. Okay, so now here comes the second one. You see it move across the deep south. Most of the members are concentrated down in the Florida Panhandle, southeastern Alabama, southwestern Georgia, and of course for snow lovers in the deep south, you're looking at this the wedge coming down the Appalachians from the big high that is sitting up near Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. That is draining down the cold air that drains down this weekend. So the area to the north of that, which would be right up in here, would see the potential for some heavy snow. And then the low goes off the southeast coast. Well, I mean, okay, there are a few members that are inland, Joe, but the vast majority of members in the mean position is still well to the south and east. The mean position on the ensembles, most of them are offshore, and it's 37 and 72 is the mean position. And, the mean position goes south of the 40 and 70 benchmark. So the ensembles are still lending at least giving you the idea that this could still very well wind up being an offshore system. And the high to the north is going to be the key. If the high doesn't hold on to the north, there's nothing to hold it. There's nothing to keep it from going up the coast and going up as a coast hugger.
That's the GFS ensemble you're looking at, correct?
Yes, I believe it is. It's the GEFS. We can look at the Canadian. We can look at the Canadian, which is the GEPS, the GEPS. And by the way, while it's loading, Brandon hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Brandon. Most appreciated. And I believe Michael McGuire hit super chat earlier tonight also. And I want to thank him for hitting the super chat tip jar. Most appreciated as well. And here we go with the GEPS on the Canadian. The mean position there is at 38.8 and about 71 and 3/4. And it looks to me like every member of the Canadian ensemble, which there are fewer members in the GFS, I believe, are all offshore. And the only other, as far as the European goes, the EPS, we don't have. I don't believe we have member plots for the EPS, but let me double check. I'm pretty sure we don't. No, we just have the 500. So that's not really going to help us very much. This is the ensemble EPS. Let's see. It's got the mean sea level pressure normal anomaly. Let's see what revelation it gives us here. Okay, so this is the EPS ensemble, and the mean position, Joe, on this one on the European is at 37.2 and 71.5. So all the ensembles are offshore, in spite of what the operational runs are doing.
And that's probably why on the hand-drawn surface prog that they kept the Sunday system pretty well offshore. Not way offshore, but far enough, much different than what, again, the operational models would have suggested. So they're probably tilting toward the ensembles, or giving the ensembles a little bit more weight than the operational model, because the operational model, again, was out to sea yesterday, and now they brought it straight up toward us today. What will the operational models do tomorrow? We'll see.
Well, even before tomorrow, what will they do during the overnight?
Overnight. Well, I asked this question before of you, and you didn't have an answer one way or another, because I don't think you really gave. But which of the two primary runs, the 0Z or the 12Z, would you think overall is the more precise, or the better model to use?
You know, I've kind of struggled with that. I honestly, I kind of treat them both independently, so I don't. I don't look at the 0Z, and then when a 12Z comes out, I'll say, well, you know what, the 0Z is a better run, or the opposite view. I've always I've always kind of looked at each run independently. So when the 0Z comes out, I look at that. When the 12Z comes out, I compare it back to the 0Z. Honestly, Joe, over time, I found that sometimes the 0Z works better than the 12. Sometimes the 12 works better than the 0. Sometimes the 6 and the 18 can actually work better than the other two, depending on, what's going on. I just have always kind of tried to keep them sort of independent of each other, and not say that one's better than the other.
All right, that's good. Fair enough. From my own standpoint, I always thought, since the 0Z, especially in the summertime on the 0Z, you could have a lot of convection, which again gets fed into the computer, and then the computer tries to take that convection and make something out of it, more than, let's say, the 12Z run, which comes, during the cooler part of the day, when there's not as much activity going on, and that may make for a more logical scenario. But that's, I'm just saying,
on the other hand, you could argue that the 0Z could also have a lot of convective feedback in it.
Yeah.
So
True.
So I just sort of figure 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. By the way, here's the European surface, which on Sunday, Joe, I look at a surface low that's sitting down north of Mobile on the European. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. Most of the time when we've seen lows that far south, when they make the turn, we're usually sweating out more that it's going out to sea rather than it's coming up as a coast hugger. The one thing I don't like is the fact that the high, is sitting, somewhere between New York City and Albany. I would prefer to see it at least up, in Plattsburgh, or maybe on the other side, on the Canadian side, somewhere in Quebec province, pressing down like it did a couple of days ago. But but there's your surface low on the European, and suddenly there's a 977 low at Atlantic City with a screaming east wind along the coastal plain, and your rain snow line is going to wind up being somewhere just north and west of I-95. So anyhow, that's where we are with all of this as far as the upper air is concerned, and also how the models are reflecting some of the things at the surface. I'm just going to bring up the GFS, because I want to spend a little bit of time with what's going on the southern end of this, because I'm thinking we've got some We've got some folks from the Carolinas and Georgia watching. So, remember with that, we're going to follow the track of that vigorous upper low. This is the surface low that actually winds up. The first low occludes out and weakens, and a new low is going to form at the point of occlusion right down here, somewhere in southern Alabama. That's going to become the new low. And you can see the impact. This is Sunday morning. You can see the impact of the wedge of the cold air wedging down into the Carolinas, the western Carolinas down into South Carolina, with that area of snow in North Carolina and freezing rain and probably some sleet in South Carolina, back over into northeast Georgia. And then eventually, as the upper low gets involved, you change it over to snow. And now here goes the surface low, which of course is lifting up, somewhere east of Raleigh-Durham by Sunday evening, west of Washington, D.C., at 1 a.m., near Harrisburg at 7 a.m. It's raining in all of New Jersey here, Joe. It's pouring on Long Island. It's raining up to Route 84 and into central Connecticut on this run. And then the low just kind of jumps up into southern New Hampshire by the time we get to Monday afternoon. And then, of course, it gets cold and dry behind it. So, yeah, this is many runs to go. Let's say that. Let's just say many runs to go, and leave it at that.
Agreed. We'll see what happens tonight at 10.
Right, and by the way, here's your
10, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, here's your first low. We've got to remember this is the one that sets the ball rolling, and your low really deepens here to a 980, and then down into the low 970s. Nova Scotia getting clobbered with heavy snow, and points northeast from there. Southeastern New Brunswick gets into it for a little bit, and then it runs up to Newfoundland, and then of course, the cold air drains down the eastern seaboard for Saturday, setting all of this up. Oh, by the way, just for the laughs, the Teleconnections today on the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, you can see it. They most of the members go negative by about 1 standard deviation around the 17th. You would think that would argue for a storm that tracks more offshore than inland, but the position of the block is what matters here. That maybe it's too far east. The PNA is pretty much how it's been for the last few days. It might be a shade more positive out in the west right through the next 2 weeks. And the AO, the Arctic Oscillation, actually a number of the members now get strongly negative, which would imply at some point in the next 2 weeks, Joe, there's going to be a rather strong push of Arctic air that's going to come into the eastern half of the U.S. Maybe, I think I saw the dates. It would maybe next weekend, not the weekend coming up now, but next weekend and beyond, like around the weekend of the 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, and in that time frame. I believe that's what what. Let me just double check on the surface here. We'll just roll it by. On the 20th, there's an Arctic front on Thursday that rolls through, and then another low goes out. So it'll be this one. So coming in on Saturday, later Saturday on the 22nd, you've got thicknesses that get down almost to 498 in the eastern part of the U.S. Come Monday and Tuesday of January 24th and 25th. I mean, that's a really solid Arctic push that comes down.
Yeah, but Joe, really, we have to wait until this whole puzzle
I agree.
Is worked out at the end of the day. Beyond Sunday, who the heck knows? I mean, a lot is going to what's going to happen on Sunday is going to depend on what happens on Friday, and what happens beyond Sunday is going to be dependent upon what happens with that system Sunday into Monday. So
I agree with you, but I think we can say that the overall flavor of the pattern in the long term is that we're going to continue to get deliveries of these cold air masses coming down out of Canada, one after another. for the next couple of weeks. With brief breaks in between as Arctic fronts set up. I think that's a given. Now we can argue about the magnitude certainly, and maybe a few other things that might try to happen in between, but the overall wintry pattern that we're in is going to continue pretty much.
Yep, it sure is. There
Okay.
doesn't seem to be much change, much hope or any much change, and that I hope all of you who threw in the towel back last month remember that.
Just want to.
I thought
go ahead. I'm
when
sorry,
I was
Joe.
away when I was away in Antarctica, there was if I recall correctly, there was some kind of a storm that everybody was going bazonkers on, that they thought this was going to be the biggie, a big snowstorm, and that kind of fizzled out. Am I correct on that? Or it was like
there was
first week of December.
There was something that a bunch of people were, about the usual suspects were playing up, but it was never anything that I thought was in serious, that should have been seriously considered.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling up the 18Z European, even though it's not going to go out anywhere close to where we need it to go out, but at least we could see what it does with the first storm. So let's take a look with this. And I will, by the way, this is courtesy of Pivotal Weather, pivotalweather.com. The odd hours European and other data are available on a subscription basis. They do have stuff that's on the free site. I've got the I took the subscription site here just so everybody knows, but it's a good site, and I certainly like the fact that I can read the snowfall numbers and the precip numbers very clearly on these maps. I like the style of the maps here. Not that I don't like Tropical Tidbits, I do. I support them also, but I do like the way Pivotal looks. So let's see. We go out 90 hours here. And there we go. Let's stuff, our cold air pulls out, obviously. There's your ocean storm lifting up to the northeast. Looks like some rain gets actually, southeast of Montauk and touches Cape Cod. And of course, it goes away. And you start to see the beginnings of the southern system dropping down on Saturday morning. And the big 1042 high that's north of Lake Huron with the very cold air that's coming down from eastern Canada down through New England and then pushing its way down through the mid-Atlantic states and into the South Atlantic states. So that's the those are the ingredients to set this up. Meanwhile, tonight, Mr. Rayo, it's cold.
Yeah, I think here in the Hudson Valley, we're going to be looking at single-digit temperatures by daybreak with wind chills probably. Well, actually, you know what, Joe? Tonight, the winds are going to be not such a big factor, not a big player. I think we'll have light winds, maybe even turning into the south after midnight. But, I mean, I know there are some forecasters who take every little bit, every mile per hour and try to squeeze something out of it to make it seem like it's going to be bitter cold. But we're not going to have that brutally cold wind that we had yesterday and last night. And by the way, got a Facebook note from somebody who watches us who said, "Where did that squall come from last night?"
We talked about it. We talked about it for 2 days. That east-west trough that was running through upstate New York, and the models pretty well made that thing just disappear as it moved southward, but apparently it did not. So I was mad at myself this morning because, we mentioned it here the last couple of nights that there was that east-west trough that was up in upstate New York, but, really didn't show any signs of holding together. And lo and behold, guess what? Some places got a quick coating to an inch out of it.
New Rochelle, I looked at the radar loop and it looked like there was a small cluster of snow showers, and obviously a couple of those were rather heavy that came on by the New Rochelle area. And this one gentleman who sent me a message on Facebook said it looked like a blizzard when we looked outside. And I said, well, there you go. That's your classic, snow shower that they get, quite often up near the Great Lakes. that came rolling on through parts of Westchester County. And as you just mentioned, Joe, brought a quick coating to, even in the worst case scenario, an inch. I didn't see anything like that up here where I am, but you know, it's to be expected when you have those little upper level ripples in the atmosphere
Oh
rolling
yeah,
on through with
especially
such cold air.
with very cold air. Absolutely. By the way, 124 likes. Thank you, those of you who hit the like button. Most appreciated as always. We've got over 300 people watching us tonight, which is wonderful. We'd love to get it up to 200 likes if we can before the show is over with. So if you like the show, do by all means hit the like button to make Joe and I happy. And subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show every night. Well, 5 days a week, 4 nights, and a Sunday morning show is what we usually do, Monday through Thursday. And then again on Sunday. We show up on Fridays and Saturdays if there's a storm around. So it's quite possible that we may be on Friday and Saturday this time around. And again, if you subscribe with your Gmail account, then you can get notifications when the Joe and Joe Weather Show is coming on. So by all means, subscribe. So yeah, pretty quiet on the satellite. I mean, most of the weather across the nation on the quiet side. The radar, checking it out, was this was from earlier. I'm giving this a quick refresh here, and well, it's trying to refresh. Okay, there it goes. There's not really a whole lot of anything going on in the east. We've got some rain showers in southeast Texas and a few heavier showers there, in fact. You can see them here, and they're moving eastward into Louisiana. And we've got rain on the coast, heavy rain on the coast, and snow well inland up in Washington state as the latest disturbance moves in there. The other thing that we have going on tonight, of course, is the core of the cold air. If we look at the latest surface map, you'll notice that the high is now on the coast. And yeah, you know what, Joe? There's enough space here in between isobars that I think you're going to see some places drop off on the wind, and that'll probably help. Some places may not everybody, but I think some places will wind up um, radiating during tonight.
Somebody, I forgot who, said that the Weather Service went for 15 in his area and it was already down to 12. That might have been due to the fact that things are radiating a lot more rapidly than what had been anticipated initially by the folks at the Weather Service.
Yeah.
So that happens sometimes when you have some snow cover. I have snow cover on my lawn still is covered with snow. However, the roadways, the main drags are all blacktop. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the temperature, but I think most areas in the Hudson Valley by daybreak tomorrow morning will be down in the single digits. I can see where I am, 7 or 8 degrees by daybreak, which would be the coldest we've seen so far this winter season.
By the way, Janet Dunn says, haven't gotten notifications in an email. I have to check Facebook to see if you'll be on. Yeah, one of the things with YouTube is, as I've done, doing some research with the notifications, it depends on how many people are going live at the same time you are. They don't apparently have unlimited resources to send millions of notifications out all at the same time. So there are times when you may not get YouTube notifications. I sometimes get it on mine the next day that I'm live from the night before. So it's a little unreliable. But if you're on my Facebook page, if you're on Joe Rayo's Facebook page, if you're on my Patreon subscription page, you will always get we post every day the links to the live stream. So if you don't get the notification via YouTube that we're live, you can get them from other sources. If you follow me on Twitter, you can get it there too. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you can even get it there. I don't know anybody that watches from LinkedIn, but I put them there anyway because I can. Timothy Veltman says, what do you think the prospect of severe weather will be with that vigorous shortwave across the south? On the southern end of that, maybe right along the immediate Gulf Coast, because you're going to have that occlusion there, and you're going to have the low forming at the point of occlusion down in southern Alabama. So, yeah, and between that and the upper low, I wouldn't be surprised to see some thunderstorms get in the mix over there. It'd be pretty interesting if there winds up being some thunder snow with the track of the upper low. That's a good question. I'm going to look into that tomorrow. This is going to be my first really solid experience with a weather system that actually has the potential to put down several to many inches. Joe, I think I said earlier in the show that the GFS gave me 8, and then just a handful of miles away from me, it printed a 20. The European, the same. So, look, if I get half, I will be happy. If we wind up getting a 3 to 6 inch snowfall out of this, I will be so thrilled just to see that here in the Deep South. That would be very, very cool indeed.
Well, you've upped me on so many things so far over the past year. The summertime, no 90 degrees for you, and quite a few of them up here for me. And so far, the grand amount of snow that I have had, Joe, has been roughly 4 inches. 3 of them fell last Friday, but I haven't had all that much. So if you end up getting 5 or 6 inches out of this coming up, that'll put you ahead of me. Of course, I don't know what I'm going to get out of what may be coming up over the weekend. Yeah, I could see, for this weekend, I could see just a lot of sun, a few patchy clouds Saturday, a lot of sun on Sunday, and then maybe on Monday or Sunday night, Monday, getting something in terms of snow. But it's going to be a while before, again, we're going to unsnarl all of this. So we'll see how it all pans out. I just took a look to see if the.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just took a look to see whether or not the chairman provided me with some brilliant.
He did. He did. He is on a COVID run tonight, delivering supplies, and we wish him all the best. I know so many people up in the New York area that have the Omicron virus, and include. By the way, I'm glad you brought that up, because Bill Uber, who's one of our regulars, he hasn't been on the chat board, and I'm sorry. I wish I'd have remembered this at the beginning of the show. So if you're still watching, Bill, I didn't forget you. But Bill has been sick for the last a week plus with COVID. It's really knocked him on his rear end. And while he doesn't have a fever, he is just incredibly tired. He sounds he's incredibly tired, and doesn't even have the strength to do anything. And that's particularly tough in the cold weather. So we really wish him well. All of us on the chat board. I know a number of you have conversations with him because he usually jumps on early. But just hang in there and get well soon, Bill. We'll see you back here and back to normal before too long. And the only other thing I want to address, by the way, is Tom Contino says, anyone know what the price of pivotal weather charges, and why would one pay to get models? Well, maybe it's because somebody is doing work, and you're getting something for free, so you should be thankful you're getting something for free. And it might be nice if you put a little coin in their pocket for the work that they do. Okay. So that's why somebody might want to pay to get models. I'm making a point there.
I understand.
Okay.
I know.
Well, you know what? It's valid. I'm sorry, but it's valid. It's I spend during storms like this. I'm on from morning till night doing stuff. Okay. I got into a big fight with, so I don't know if I told you this, but I got into it big with somebody on Facebook who when I have a lot of the stuff that's on my subscription site. There's a lot of long range analysis that I do. There's extra videos that I do, and the people that are on there, part of it's for some of them come on there because they want to throw some coin in the tip jar. And believe me, I deeply appreciate it because this is how I earn, I earn a living these days. And then there are people that do it that are there because I give them a service and I work with them. I talk with them every day, particularly snow removal folks, and I'm working. So, somebody made some snide remark about the fact that I'm, out there basically begging for, for $2 or whatever it is per month. And I just ripped the guy to shreds and just said, first of all, my financial situation is none of your business. And the second thing is that you need to get back to your parents and have them teach you 2 words that apparently they didn't teach you. And those 2 words were thank you. When someone gives you something that you don't pay for, you say thank you. Okay. All right. That's the end of my rant before it gets even more obnoxious than it already is. So anyhow,
Absolutely.
that's there. So let's do
your Briller Jeopardy.
Let's do Briller Jeopardy before I dig myself into a deeper hole.
Well, tonight the Briller Jeopardy for you, Joe, is on one of the great shows of the 70s, and I think I know that you'll fully agree with that. If not for the actual star of the show, then for one of the supporting characters, Mary Tyler Moore. The Mary Tyler Moore Show. And I know you love the episodes that have Suzanne Nivens, the late great Betty White. They ran one of the episodes over the weekend of where Murray is volunteers to be Sue Ann's producer, and then ends up doing all sorts of little piddling little work that Betty White would never have done on her own show.
Right.
And at the end, he lifts Betty White up and plops her right down on the top of a 3-tiered wedding cake. And as she's sitting there, the cake is slowly collapsing, and she's slowly collapsing into the cake. And I think she ad-libbed this one line. She took 2 fingers, dipped it into the cake, took a taste, and said, "It needs more vanilla."
What was it? There was also I was thinking. Remember the one episode where she sabotaged? Was it her sister, who was played by Pat Priest, and she sabotaged and she sabotaged something that she made where the buttercream was made to sit out, and everybody who ate it, the whole crew ate it, including everybody in the newsroom, and they all got sick. and she was relishing over the fact that everybody got sick over it, so that she could get rid of her sister. I think that's what the episode was. Anyway, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
All right. So question number 1 is, in the last, and I think you know this, Joe, I think a lot of people know this, in the last episode of Mary Tyler Moore, the end of the 7-year run, everyone was fired except for who?
Oh, Ted.
Ted, correct. And number 2 is, when Mary went to jail, he shared a jail cell with who?
I could see the woman, I could see the face of the actress, and I think she was like a prostitute.
Right. That's what it was.
Okay.
She shared a jail with prostitutes. Now, I seem to remember, wasn't there an episode she did separate from the prostitute episode where she shared a jail cell with Pat Carroll? Remember the great
no,
Pat Carroll?
it wasn't a jail cell. It was a hospital room.
A hospital room. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Pat Carroll didn't like her, and Mary was trying to, wanted her to like her, as I recall.
Number 3 is, what first lady appeared on the show?
What first lady appeared on the show? I want to say Betty Ford.
I'm going to stop you right there. It was Betty Ford.
Okay.
That was the episode where Lou and Mary go to Washington. Lou is bragging about all the people that he knows, all the makers and shakers, none of which ever show up. And then finally, he manages to get Betty Ford to call Mary up on the phone. And Mary doesn't believe that it's Betty Ford and hangs up on Betty Ford. Which two characters on the show each had 3 daughters?
Oh, well, Murray did, and I believe Lou did.
That's right. You got it. Lou and Murray.
And by the way,
And in fact,
and so do I, by the way.
That's true. That's true. And in fact, one of Murray's daughters, Bonnie, little Bonnie, eventually grew up to win an Oscar. She was in a number of movies, Twister, Castaway, and you know who that actress was, right, Joe?
Oh my God! Oh God, her face is right in front of me. Was it Helen Hunt?
Helen Hunt.
Yes.
That's right. She was as a little girl, like 13 or 14 years old. She appeared as Murray's daughter in one episode. And if you want to see what Helen Hunt looked like when she was a little, a teenager, wait for that episode to come up. I don't remember what season, but I do remember seeing at the end. I said, "Oh my God, that's Helen Hunt." So anyway,
yes, 10 likes. By the way,
number
10,
5.
10 likes to 200. 10 likes, folks. 10 likes. Go ahead.
10 more.
10 more.
What were Mary's parents' names?
Oh God. You know what? I don't remember, but I do. Nanette Fabre played her mother, and
right.
I can see the face of the actor who played her father, but I don't remember his name. He's like one of these character actors that you'd see all the time in the 60s and 70s, but I don't remember his name, and I don't remember the names of her parents. Was her husband, the father's name John? I mean, that would kind of make sense, but it wasn't. Okay.
No. Walter and Dottie.
Walter and Dottie.
Those
okay.
Now, if Scott is watching remotely somewhere on his run tonight, he's going to get very, very, very upset at me because I didn't really look at these questions until just now, and it turns out that question number 6 is what we just spoke about a few moments ago. What famous future movie star played Murray's daughter?
Oh, Helen Hunt. Okay, well, you just jumped ahead. Hunt. So no problem. Yeah. You're going to ask it anyway.
Number 7 was what did Ted name his dog?
Lou?
No.
Oh God. You know what? I don't. Let's see. I know he was a big fan. Was it Walter Cronkite he was a big fan of? Did he name it Walter?
No, he did not name it Walter.
All right. I don't have any idea. I don't remember.
He named his dog WJM.
Oh, good Lord.
In that one episode where they lost power or whatever on election night, he looked at the lapel on his jacket, saw the WJM call letters, and said, "Hey, have you ever wondered what the words WJM for?" Well, I certainly have. And then later on, he says, "And that was in 1954 when WJM was given a license by the FCC. Have you ever wondered what the letters FCC stood for?" Number 8, Ed. Ted idolized what famous anchorman?
It was Walter Cronkite.
It was Walter Cronkite.
Right.
Remember when Cronkite appeared on the show?
Yes, he did.
And Ted said, "Mr. Cronkite, I enjoy your show. You can call me Walter." Number 9, who arranges Mary's furniture when she first moves to her new apartment?
Phyllis.
Close.
Was it Phyllis? Was it
one down?
Rhoda?
In the family.
Oh,
no, not Rhoda.
You mean, Phyllis's daughter Bess.
Right.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, had a very small part in the movie Airport with Burt Lancaster.
Yes.
Remember that movie, Joe, with Dean Martin? And
yes.
And she played, and Bess, the actress who played Bess, played Burt Lancaster's daughter in that show. So, "Hi, Daddy. Isn't the snow neat?" And Burt Lancaster says, "Honey, it's real cool."
Yeah.
And that was the extent of her appearance in the movie. But since she said a few lines, I'm sure she must have gotten paid very well for that one shot.
Right.
Who sang the theme song? If you watched CBS Sunday Morning, this past Sunday,
which I
we will
didn't.
know. Oh, well, who sang the theme song to the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Sonny Curtis.
I never would have remembered Sonny Curtis.
They did a whole thing on Sonny Curtis and everything. He actually had to rewrite the song again after the first season. It was how will you make it on your own? But when the show became established,
Right,
they
they
came back to
changed it.
Sonny Curtis and they
Right,
yeah,
who could turn the world on with a smile? Who can
right,
take
right.
a nothing day
Nothing
and
day
suddenly
and
make it
suddenly
all
make it all seem
seem worthwhile?
worthwhile.
Well, it's you, girl,
But
and
it's
you
you,
should
girl, and
know it.
you should know it. With each glance and
It's in
every
every
little
little
movement,
movement you
you should,
show it.
you should.
Love is, you
Love
got
is all around. All
you
right,
got the
all
idea.
right,
Is that the
all
last
right.
question?
Bonus,
Oh, the
bonus
bonus.
question. Here's the bonus question. How many? I already mentioned this again. Sorry about this, Scott. I already gave the answer away earlier on. How many seasons did the Mary Tyler Moore Show last?
7.
7. There you go.
Following the tradition of I Love Lucy, by the way, Mary Tyler Moore ended it after 7 seasons.
Correct.
And that was the bonus. Oh, by the
And
way,
the chairman is on tonight right now.
oh,
So.
good. 204 likes. Anna Patel vlogs, hitting super chat. Thank you so much. Most appreciated. And I saw Timothy Veltman also hitting super chat tonight. Thank you very much for doing that, Timothy. And by the way, I just want to make it clear, the rant was not about to get somebody to hit the tip jar or anything like that. But my feeling is, if you don't want to subscribe, don't. Just scroll on. It's not necessary to express your opinion and then be nasty about it. And some people do that. And I'm not going to sit back and not respond when someone does that. It's obnoxious and it's nasty. So, that's the reason why I ranted the way I ranted. And I do appreciate very much those of you who do support, that have joined the subscription, that engage with me on a regular basis on the subscription platform, and also right here. But you know what? If you don't want to do it, that's fine. We're not here begging you to do it. By no means are we doing that. But just keep your mouth shut. That's all. Okay. So
I do notice that Anup Patel Vlogs contributed, hit the super chat jar, and
yes.
also we hit 200 right after we did that little duet with the Mary Tyler. So maybe we should sing more often, Joe. And then maybe not.
But we should do it in sync, because we were like off. I think because there's a time lag between us. By the way, thank you. And she says, I love the work. I love the work, Joe. You guys give free reporting. The Weather Channel app makes us pay to watch videos these days. I didn't know that. The Weather Channel makes you pay?
I didn't know that either.
Oh, wow. Gee, I give a lot for free. I do Weather in 5 every day that almost always turns into Weather in 10, and that's free. And I put up a daily summary, and that's free. And then we do the Joe and Joe show, and that's free. So, but we're not going to charge for any of those things, just so you know. There's other stuff that I charge for. And by the way, Joe, dead heat in the poll, 50-50.
50-50?
50-50.
We shall see what we shall see. One quick Weather Channel story or anecdote concerning me is I had sent them a tape back in the mid 1980s, and I found this letter just a few days ago while I was doing some cleaning of my office, and it was from Ray Ban, formerly of AccuWeather. Then he became a big shot over at the Weather Channel way back when, and he said, I looked at your tape. It looks like you have some potential. Send us another tape when you have a chance. And what made me think about, when I read that, I thought about in 2017, I had put together a junket for Alaska Airlines for the solar eclipse of 2017. We had media people all over the plane, and we had one camera person and reporter from the Weather Channel that was on there. They stuck their mic in front of me saying, can we have a few words from you? Can we have you for a few minutes? And I'm saying to myself, I wanted to say something like, "Yeah, where's Ray Ban?" He said I
Right.
have potential.
Maybe I'm good enough now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I always liked the fact that I had two separate consultants tell me. One of them told me that I would never get a job this was back in the early '80s, by the way, when you know, most places still only had 3 television stations and cable was in its infancy, and there were no other news outlets. I had one consultant told me as I was coming out of the New York area that I would never get a job in the South because I sounded too much like a New Yorker. And my first 2 jobs were in Corpus Christi,
Or
Texas,
in this
and my second job was in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
And then I had another consultant after that told me that I would never work in the Northeast because because I sounded too much like a Southerner. And my next job was at News 12 Long Island and WPIX. So it just goes to show you that uh, for all the expertise you think some of these people have that are in management positions, okay, there's a lot of air between this and this that lies in here, okay? And by the way, because we didn't say anything, but I've been reading more and more about, you know, what happened over at News 12 with the letting go of. I was actually quite shocked at. I knew some of them when I
Oh,
saw something back a couple of months ago.
4 of them. There were
Yeah.
4 of them. I
Now,
saw the really.
right. I mean, were they just like? Did they just like walk in one day and they just were told that they're being let go, or you know, were they offered? You know, were they offered? I don't know if they offered some kind of package or something like
Now,
that.
that's a good. Now that's a good question because when I was at News 12 and they were letting a lot of the people in Westchester go, they said if you stay to the end until the consolidation, in other words, when they were going to close down the studios in Yonkers, if you stay to the end, you will get a severance package. And in fact, they sweetened the severance package show. They said if you are of a certain age and have done a certain number of years for us, instead of 2 weeks for every year that you're at News 12, they'll give you 3 weeks. And if I had taken that package, I would have had like 60 some odd weeks of severance, but I moved on. I did not stay to the very end. And so they found that a way not to pay me any severance.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned that. I'm saying to myself, were these people offered a severance, or were they simply told you're gone? Uh, and if that be the case, that stinks. That
Well, look
absolutely
here.
stinks because these
Here.
four these four people these 4 people who were let go at News 12 Long Island now. I think all 4 of them were there for at least 20, and in some cases almost 30 years, and they all were rewarded by getting citations and awards and Emmys for that company.
Doesn't
And now
matter.
just like that, snap, you're gone. And
Well,
what's going to happen now is that now that they let those 4 people go, they're probably going to now turn around and find 8 or 9 people to come in, probably kids who are just out of college who are so very anxious to work on television and are willing to take any amount of money, no matter how low, in order to get their big start in television. Because these 4 people, I would hope, I know, they probably made a very, very good salary for all the years that they spent. And this goes back to the days when it was Cablevision. And you and I both know, Joe, that Cablevision would never have done what this new company, Altice, has done to News 12 in the last 4 or 5 years. It's just been horrible.
yeah. I did see a question before. NBC no longer owns the Weather Channel. They bought it for however many billions of dollars they paid for it, and they sold it for like $100 million. So they took a huge loss on it. Michael Leona, my response to you is dingle sidgets. Okay, so I'm glad to see you on the chat board tonight, and I hope everything is well by you. Uh, the thing about television news, well, Altice. I mean, they you know, this is a reputation that they've had. You know, it's basically a family-run business, and they don't believe that any of their employees should be making more than X number of dollars a year, and it's a very, very small amount of money. So, you know, this is, you know, that's what they do. They come in, they get rid of anybody that makes money. And what's particularly interesting in the scope of things is when you consider what's going on across the nation with regards to the employment situation, where you have, a lot of places where, they can't find enough people to work. Um, People are able to get higher salaries because they can pretty much pick and choose where they want to go. There's such a high demand for workers. Unfortunately, in the television business, the people who run the business know that there are too many people who will gladly go on television for next to nothing in terms of money, just to get their faces on the air, and they know this. And there's an almost endless supply of talent. So if you're experienced, if the more years you have, the big the it's a bigger liability to you, the more experience you have. And it's really sad because I was big fans of the folks that did get let go. Um, you know, Jackie Lucas was one, and Christine Insignia. Who I thought was an exceptional reporter. And I was one in TV. I was not one to throw out compliments to my coworkers very often. There were a handful of people that I really thought did great jobs, and that's always, you know, my compliments were few and far between. So, if it means anything, I mean, I thought they were great. Jamie Stewart did a great job. I don't remember who the fourth one was. I'm 60, going to be 63. I forget things, but no matter. I wish them all well. I really hope they'll all land on their feet one way or another. So let's hope and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will land on their feet. So, IBM. That's right. Mike Leona pointed. IBM owns owns the weather company, and the weather company. I mean, IBM owns the weather company. They don't own the Weather Channel. So just to make that clear. So there. And by the way, Bruce Edwards is the reason why I did not get a big job in Cleveland. And to this day, I'm still furious about that. I was offered, this was back in 1997 or 8. I was offered the main job at I want to say the CBS station in Cleveland. I forget which one it was. And Joe, it was for stupid. It was for stupid money. Okay, 6-figure salary, nice 6-figure salary. And I I had gone to Cleveland. I actually thought I loved it there. I mean, it's actually a really beautiful city, especially these days. There's been a big renaissance there, and it's a beautiful city. And I was going to sell my house on Long Island and buy a house on the lakefront on Lake Erie and in the lake effect land, and just sit there with the lawn chair and watch the squalls come in over the lake. And there was an offer on the table. We were just kind of going back, just nitpicking on a couple of little things regarding whether the contract would be, 3 years or 5 years or whatever it was. And suddenly it got silent. We stopped hearing from him. I had an offer. It got silent. And what happened was that Bruce Edwards, who was from Cleveland, made it known that he was looking to leave the Weather Channel, and they wound up hiring him. And I remember that my agent just absolutely blew a gasket over it because of the fact that they, were so shady and underhanded in the way they handled it. But this is how TV works. It's a scummy business run by mostly scummy people, and they wouldn't hesitate to toss you out the window at the first chance they get, if they could find somebody who could do what you do for less money. There were very few people. There were very few people that I have respect for from in the television management business. And the answer to your question, John Charles, is no, never. Okay, and we'll just leave it at that. Joe, you could look at his question, and then you'll know why I gave the answer I gave. So we'll just leave that. Anyhow.
No, all I could say is you're absolutely right. It is a scummy business. They will toss you aside. I remember. I remember they wasn't. Now I may be wrong. I think Alan Casper was uh, up for getting back to being the #1 forecaster at Channel 2, and then all of a sudden, John Coleman, formerly the Weather Channel, was made available, and boom, Coleman was moved in
No,
quickly.
I
And then what
no
happened?
no. G G replaced Allen on the weekdays, and Allen was pushed to weekends. By the time John Coleman came, Allen was long gone from there.
And as it turned out, John Coleman was only there for a very short time, because once Frank Field made it clear that he wanted to leave Channel 4, NBC, and go somewhere else, Channel 2 said to John Coleman, "It's been nice having you, John," and shoved him out and brought in Frank Field. And
Oh yeah.
so the wheel goes.
Oh,
Anyway,
it goes round and round, and it's only gotten worse over the years. I've always said, I started in the television news business basically at the top when salaries were at their highest, and working in the industry was a good thing, and then it just it spiraled downhill in the 80s, spiraled more in the 90s, really spiraled in the 2000s, particularly in the late 2000s, and this is obviously from the particularly from say 2000 on, it's been all the internet has and streaming, and now streaming has done has basically decimated what used to be the old networks. There's nothing left of them really. They're just about gone. I don't know anybody. Joe, have you turned on like network programming? During prime time. It's either reality shows or game shows, or there's the occasional drama or comedy show here and there, but it's mostly crap. It's mostly cheap. It's mostly crap that's very, very cheap to produce. That's all. And when you can produce something cheap, you can make a lot of money with ad revenue, as long as you have as long as you have a large enough audience and the right demographic, and that's what it really boils down to. And I'm glad I'm not part of that anymore, because I got my own show with you.
And here we are. I know my sister's watching right now at my mom's apartment. They're watching on a smart TV, and so I want to say hello to my sister. Hi, and my mom. Hi, Mom. And right after this show's over, I'll probably call my mom up, and as I normally do every night. So
nobody watches from
that's
my
about
family.
all.
Nobody watches me from my family.
Everybody loves you, Joe. You're king of all media as far as weather is concerned.
I'm very tired right now. I'm very tired. By the way, thank you for those of you. I know a few of you have asked me along the way, either through messages on Facebook or elsewhere. I am feeling so much better. I would say that, but well, right now I'm kind of tired because I was up early this morning. But I'm about 90 to 95% better, and I would say I'm probably closer to the 95 than the 90. So I've been recovering very, very quickly in the last week. It really, my energy level's gone way up. I'm I cleaned my house. I went and did a few mechanical things that I needed to do that required some physical work on my part, which was stuff that I couldn't do when I was sick. I mean, it just I had my strength to do my weather stuff, and even there it was a struggle. So for those of you who have been asking me, I'm feeling really a lot better. I'm almost back to where I should be. So another week or two, hopefully I will be. So there. Okay. Anything else you can think of?
I don't think so. 225 likes tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for hitting the like button, and we will be back tomorrow with a continuation of the late weekend, early next week confusion as to whether or not we do get any kind of a significant storm. What else can I say?
That is correct, Mr. Rayo. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show, I bet you can tell us who it's brought to you by.
Well, it's right below me, isn't it? Right there.
That's it. Omni True Value Hardware at 1226. Yes. At 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, the New York City tri-state area's largest provider of rock salt and also Pelledo, mag, ice pellets, and flakes, and much more. They're at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 6317561125 is the phone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com.
Omnitruevalue.com.
Yes. Ken DPW hitting super chat at the last minute. Thank you, sir. And Joe, you just nudged me out on the poll. It's at 5149. 286 votes, by the way. So we're not talking about 10 people here that put the vote, put down to vote here. We've got 286 votes. You got 51% of the vote that says you'll get more snow in the Hudson Valley than I will get here in North Georgia.
I wouldn't bet against this guy, though, folks. I mean, he has beaten me more times over the course of this past year in beating me in terms of temperatures and rainfall and whatever. So if he beats me with the snow, it would not be a surprise. We shall see.
All right, everybody, have a great Tuesday night, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern. Nighty night, everybody.
Bye.